Have you ever wondered why God sometimes says no to what you ask for or what you want? We have an analogy that opened our eyes to something new about God. So listen to this.
We have a 13-month-old son, and the other day he was helping me unload the dishwasher. I unload the bottom rack, and immediately the first thing he draws his eye to, the sharpest knife. So he goes right in, he grabs it, and I'm turning around, I'm like, Sonny, and I grab his hand quickly, and I'm pulling it away from his fingers gripped to the knife. And he starts wailing, losing his mind naturally. I'm sitting there, like, I'm not going to explain it to him, like, hey, it's sharp, because he's not going to understand. But I just have to love him in that moment. I was processing that moment and many other moments with Alex later. And you made a really cool point about how this related so much to us and God and our relationship with him.
Yeah, so we came to the conclusion and the analogy that we treat God like a baby treats their parent. And stay with me, because it will make sense. We just have to break it down for you. So we have a couple points for this analogy to really hit home. First, what London just mentioned. Our son's name is Sonny. And from Sonny's perspective, he had something he wanted and you took it from him. He has no idea the greater concept that it was bad and that it could hurt him. And we do the exact same thing with God. God takes things away from us that would hurt us even if we can't see it. And what do? We cry. And we wail and we freak out. I mean, complain. How often I spend my days just like complaining and moaning. And then I look in hindsight of all the times I wanted something and it was a prayer unanswered. And the unanswered prayer was very much an answered prayer by him not giving me that thing. It was not what I needed, and it would have hurt me if he had given it to me. And hurt might not always be the exact wording, but it's going to impede my ability to live my purpose that God has for me in the best way and live a fulfilled life. And in that way, it would hurt me.
Right. And that's like in Proverbs 3:5, where it says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding, where we're really thinking that our own understanding of our life and this world and everything is just so right and true, when in reality it's not. The creator of all things, the master of all things, has way more of an understanding than we'll ever grasp in this lifetime. So
there's times that I take a glass from Sonny's hand because I know he'll break it, and he's screaming at me, and I love him, but it's kind of funny. And I'm looking at him like, dude, you're so mad, but you have no idea. And I just imagine God's so often kind of laughing. Like, dude, you just don't get it. You just don't get it. And you won't get it. And that's okay. Just trust me.
I still love you anyway.
So let's go to the second point. God keeps us from the things that we really want sometimes, because sometimes we're just not ready for it yet. And I look back to Sonny and also our daughter Mika as a toddler, how often we keep things from them because they're just not ready. And a great example is what I just told you, is when I take a glass from Sonny, at some point, my son and my daughter will be old enough to take on the responsibility of holding a glass of water instead of a plastic cup of water. I know that day is not today. I know that for a fact. Mika, our daughter, and Sonny, they do not know that. And they get very upset sometimes because they want a certain mug or a certain glass. And soon that day will come. But today is not that day.
Another example is like my phone, both Sonny and Mika, which is crazy, by the way, about how kids just are so attracted to the screen, and it's just so dangerous. But anyway.
Like we aren't.
Yeah, I know. They want to hold my phone. They want to carry it around. And we've actually started setting boundaries of, hey, this is my phone. You don't touch it unless you ask, But one day there'll be a time that our kids are ready for a phone. And today is just not that day. And so again, there's many things in our life that I think God is waiting for and asking us to wait for, because he wants to, whether it's grow us, prepare our hearts so that we get to a point that we are mature enough, spiritually mature enough to handle that bigger blessing, whatever that might be, you know, in our life.
It's true. And sometimes we get a hold of things. Like Mika did get a hold of the phone a couple times. We play stories for our daughter. So we have a little speaker behind us, and we'll go on Spotify, we'll find a little Disney story, and we'll play it for her. The idea is we're trying to provide an opportunity for her to hear stories, but maybe not watch them. We try to avoid screen time. That being said, we were just sick a couple days ago, where both London and I were sick. And so we had no choice but to just rip Bluey for like 48 hours straight to keep her entertained. Bluey was our babysitter. But anyway, sometimes we'll put our phone down and she wants to go to the next story or something, and she'll find our phone and grab it. And we've told her multiple times you can't do that. But I'll suddenly walk in and she's sitting on the couch just happy as can be, scrolling through my phone. And I was like, Mika! And usually the result, she doesn't get what she wants. She taps the wrong button. Suddenly she's playing rock music and she wanted Princess Story. It just shows sometimes you're not ready to receive the blessing that you want so badly. A great scripture for this point in particular, Isaiah 30:18. Therefore, the Lord waits to be gracious with you, and therefore he exalts himself to show mercy to you. The Lord is a God of justice. Blessed are all those who wait for him. The third point to this analogy is God gives us blessings even when we don't know we're receiving them. Our example here is the amount of times we go about our day doing things for our kids, and they have no idea really that we're doing them. The epitome of that example is changing that daggone diaper. Because our child, Mika, she's good. Sunny loses it.
Oh my.
Loses it.
Every time.
This man is an active, you talk about wrestling with God.
WWE.
This kid is wrestling with us every single time. He's twisting, he's turning, he's doing backflips. There was a period where he couldn't walk, but he could do a double handspring to get out of a diaper change. And he screams and wails and just has no idea that we're actually blessing him. That bum is rank and needs to get changed, and you are going to be very miserable and itchy and gross if you don't change it, you know?
Another example is feeding them. Feeding Sunny, we put him in the high chair. He's just sitting waiting. I mean, now he's at an age that he's like getting noisy, but like before he'd just sit there and then we'd bring him food and he's like, it's appeared, you know?
Nice.
And so, yeah, I think that's a perfect example of like, he has no understanding. He can't even be grateful for it. It just is there. He doesn't understand any of the process or where it comes from. Yeah, I think that's another example of how God blesses us, and we don't even know it.
Yeah.
There's things, not only as a baby, but even growing up as a child, that I didn't see or realize or even appreciate until I was in my 20s, especially when I became a parent, that my parents did for me and I didn't even see. And so I thought that's a great example too of how God does things for us that we might not appreciate in the moment, but in a later chapter or season of our life, we might be able to look back and see.
The fourth point to the analogy, God loves us through our mistakes. And I see that every day with Sunny, because the reality is, again, he's a baby. How often he does stuff where I'm like, he's a baby. The amount of mistakes he makes a day, the amount of spills or dropping something or breaking something, the amount that he's just screaming in my ear, it happens all day. And I have to keep telling myself, oh yeah, he's a baby. He doesn't know any better. There's a certain level of expectation and standard that he just can't surpass because he's a baby. And honestly, I think God sees us the same way. Like, oh yeah, he's human, you know? And there's this level of he loves us through our mistakes. No matter what we do, he still loves us and he understands. And that's the beauty of Jesus, is he came down on this earth as human to truly live the life as a human and understand feelings that God himself would never, as the Almighty, feel. And that might be confusing for you, but let me put it this way. We are tempted every day. And God can understand that and sympathize with us. But he has a better understanding because of his son, Jesus, who came to earth and was tempted by all the things. I mean, Satan in multiple occasions tried to tempt Jesus. And of course, he did not take any of those temptations because he's perfect. And we do consistently. But because he came down as a human and lived the experiences and the emotions, God, through Jesus, have a deep understanding and empathy and sympathy for what we go through every day. This leads to our fifth and final point of the analogy. God's presence is our safety. Now, in this analogy, we're talking about God the Father, but I am really comparing him to London the mother, because whenever Sunny is crying, whenever he is freaking out, whenever he is just completely upset, as soon as he goes into London's arms, it's complete peace. And maybe not immediately, and sometimes that's not the case, but for the most part, there is this level of peace that he gets when he gets in her arms, and sometimes he even like takes a big exhale of anxiety. He'll go...
It's like the calm of a storm.
Yeah.
It's like when Jesus was like, peace, be still.
And it works for him. Like he gets such a feeling of safety and comfort when he's with his mother. I wish I could do that for him, but usually he just cries and like reaches for mom when I'm holding him. But I give it my best shot. But it just paints the picture of how incredible and how important it is for us to understand that God's presence is our safety. And when we feel close to God and when we feel his presence, and I remind you, his presence is always there, just whether or not you're willing to receive it. When I'm actually able to receive his presence and feel it, I feel at complete peace. And the times that I'm in anguish and having a hard time is usually the times that I'm extremely distant from God.
That kind of makes me think about how God's always there and ready for us, but we're usually the ones being like, I don't feel close to God, but it's our doing. That kind of makes me think about Sonny as well. One example I can think of is recently Sonny locked himself in our closet. Okay, not locked. That sounds dangerous. But like he goes right in and he's very into opening and closing doors. And so he closed the door and it's pitch black. And sometimes he's quiet. And I'm like, where's Sonny?
He's pondering where he is.
I'm looking around. Where are you? And then I hear him starting to make some noises. He put himself there and like allowed himself to shut the door and be in the darkness.
And sit there for a while.
Yeah, and be content, for a while. But then getting to a point of like, I'm scared.
A funny example, but a good one. So that's the analogy. Final thoughts. We are a baby now. Faith isn't about having all the answers. It's about trust. Trusting the one who knows all things, sees all things, and is master of all things, but still cares for you and wants the best for you. Just like a loving parent and their precious baby. So if you're offended that I compared you to a baby, I'm sorry.
No, you're not.
I'm not sorry, but I'm comparing myself to. I do it all the time. I am just so unable to understand the greater plan and the ways that God is shaping my life and blessing my life. And often I don't know how he's blessing me, and I want more, and I want things that I shouldn't even have.
Yeah, so if you feel the same way as us in that, or have any other funny examples of our relationship with God and what that would look like, please comment below. And if you like this content, please like and subscribe. We appreciate you all. And as always,
Live your faith out loud.